Hey, folks, it's Matt and Steve, and we're here with another episode of the Risk Control Show. I want to talk about something. I guess we'll call this an alert, 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 alert. I want to, I just, sometimes you're like, what is going on? I want to just kind of talk about wheel chocks and being smart with lockout, tag out.
Mhm.
We do a lot. We travel a lot. I see a lot of stupid things. Let me see if I can find this truck here. Oh, here's a stupid one right here. And this is gonna build into what we're talking about with the wheel chocks. But if you look at this image, there's a man in a green shirt with not overalls. Yeah, overalls, not coveralls. Overalls on,
Yep.
and he's between the two raised wheels. These are the spare tires. Um, so it was funny because we are helping on an OSHA case and something very, very similar to this. We just did a couple lockout tagout programs. And when we do lockout tagout, we cover all the vehicles as well that have dumpers and other hydraulics on them and things like this.
Yeah.
Fire engines, same thing. So you have this dumper here, and he's got the bed raised. I'm not sure exactly what he's doing on there. I think he was checking his brake line or something.
Looks like it. Yeah.
But point being, um, he raised the bed of this truck, and there's a safety bar in there to keep that from slamming down in the event that hydraulics fail.
Yep.
And also, this is not wheel chalked. And the reason I know this is I saw this as I was driving by. I turned around and I parked my vehicle and I watched this from the point where I noticed it to the end. And this gentleman, um, from what I could see, just left after he did whatever he was doing in there. And
Mhm.
I'm not sure if he was checking air brake. I don't know what he was doing quite specifically, but he stepped out from these two wheels and lowered the truck without removing the safety bar, didn't remove any wheel chocks, and drove off. And and I was thinking, oh my gosh, we just had a massive incident very similar to this,
Yeah.
where someone was underneath a truck and didn't properly chalk the wheels, or kind of properly chalk the wheels, but not truly chalk the wheels properly, and a little bit of manufacturer miss. How would I say this? Because I
Uh.
I think I think I think the manufacturer it is fully covered in what they say, but it's not a direct do this type of statement, which means
Right.
that when you do your lockout tagout, you have to test these in a safe manner. And that's something
Right.
that we always tell. Like when we do lockout tagout programs, we'll go in, we'll write them all up, how it's supposed to be done. We'll kind of test it ourselves. And then we have the guys or gals or manager, whoever in their team, go
Right.
through and run through the process in a safe way, in a controlled environment, and ensure that it's effectively locked out and tagged out. In this case, um, it it is the wheel chalk that was called for was supposed to be 4 inches by 4 inches or larger,
Right.
which, if we look at this chalk, this is the chalk. It's a little worn, things like that, but still effective. Oop, going back through. Still effective. It is 9 by 8 by 6. It's definitely larger than 4 by 4, The problem comes in is where you apply it. So I'm going to bring back this dump truck picture, and if you look here at, between, I call this the middle axle and rear axle. If you
Right.
only place one wheel chock and the truck moves, that's a lot of space. It could almost be up to 12 inches, 14 inches between the lower portion. And depending on the weight of the truck, what's in it, the incline that it's on, if it is inclined, it's very rare that you find something that's perfectly 0 degrees.
Right.
It's level, but it's not perfectly level, these types of things. And in this particular case, the wheel chock was placed against the rear, I think it was the rear of the middle axle, and the truck rolled forward, and the rear axle jumped the chock.
Yep.
And the failure point there could have been, again, it could have been that many factors. It could have been that it was on an incline. It could have been that not both sides of the wheel were chalked, or that both wheels on one axle were chalked on front and back. But I think our message here is you have to check your procedure and make sure it's secured. You have to make sure the vehicle is in park, that the wheels are chalked, that the emergency parking brake is engaged fully, and that the key to the motor, engine, that let me run this down again. All right, you park the vehicle, you apply the emergency brake, you put it in park, you turn off the key to the ignition, controls the engine, and you remove the key.
Yep.
And you put that in your pocket, and you chalk the wheels, and you make sure that there's tight on both sides, front and rear of the wheel, and on both both wheels of a single axle. Now, if you if you don't do that, you are running the risk of having a chock jumped, and that happens quick. We talk about it all the time, how quick things happen. If you're under this vehicle, if you're under the main portion of the vehicle on the interior side of the wheels, and you're not directly under a wheel, or a limb's not under a wheel, well, you might be okay unless the differential smacks you in the head and drags you across the concrete. So that, in that case, you're lucky, you're not good. and unfortunately, I think you just have to be very careful about what you're doing and test these procedures. So I want to bring that to everybody's attention. We have a chock that is much larger than the 4x4. It didn't stop the vehicle, and part of that is potentially human error. The other part is potentially not the right application, or the right dimensions, or maybe it should be 9x9 or larger. I don't know. 4x4, that's like saying make sure it's 2x2 or larger. Well, we said larger.
Is so that chock too, 4x4 is so tiny compared to the size of that wheel. I'm surprised that even that was enough. I definitely think a larger chock needed to be used there, as they did. But as you said, Steve, if you don't apply the chock properly, then it doesn't really matter.
Right.
A chock jump can still happen.
Yeah. And that being said, I think really that's it. Look at your wheel chocks. I think a lot of us skip the certain equipment and tools that we have. When we do shop safety classes, you have to look at your tools. If the grips aren't good, you gotta either re-grip them or you have to get rid of them. If things are worn, and things get worn, not every tool lasts a lifetime and
Yeah.
keeps its shape and everything about it. You have to replace tools, and in these cases, things like wheel chocks are extremely important. So you got to look at your wheel chock and make sure that it's not going to slide, it's not going to move, it's going to hold its grip, all of those things, and do that. You may have to replace those, and they should be on a maintenance cycle. I'm sure that there's just like any other. I can look it up now. Actually, let me see. Uh, uh, who wants to bet? Like uh, who wants to bet when
I'm gonna
you
guess inspected annually.
Well, not only that, like how long is its useful life, right? That's what
Right.
I'm gonna look for here. Yeah, I'm just looking at these wheel chocks, and here's one on Amazon, which looks very interesting. It's got a bracing pin on it. It's like I wouldn't use this to save my life because it, you know, hey, just pop these two pins up to support it. Yeah, what happens when
Right.
they fall? Let me see. Wheel chalk. Yeah, looking at these heavy duty wheel chalks. Holy smokes. Let's look at these general purpose ones and just see. If it's
No.
in this specification, how long it lasts.
While you're looking that up, Steve, just something I wanted to address is complacency. What Steve just mentioned, we do this training all the time. We talk about the importance of staying on top of the maintenance, staying on top of following your process and always doing it safe. And we get lots of head nods and knowledgeable looks from everybody. Yeah, that's what we need to do. And I mean, but that's the thing. If you do it 100 times a day, you will get complacent unless you guard against it. You have to have that process, that safe process, and follow it every time, and don't allow yourself to to take a moment and say, no, I don't need to pull the key this time. I no, this is level. This vehicle is not going to move. I don't need to pull the emergency brake. I'm just going to hop out and hop back in. It's
Right.
when you start thinking like that that injuries happen. So yes, even those of you, some of you knowledgeable, experienced are going, "Oh, I would never do that," but you absolutely would. We all absolutely have those moments.
Right.
So just keep that in your mind, like that. This can happen to anybody at any time, and all it takes is one little mistake for it to happen.
It's very true. And I'm going to give you a real life example of something that Matt and I recently did. Actually, our whole team was out there, and it was part of our defensive driver training. And we had we do some cool things. Let me see if I can. I'll have to find some pictures for that
The
too.
pictures.
Uh, the we do some very cool things, and the idea there is we got a speedway. We set up a defensive driver course. We allowed people to race around it. But during our opening remarks for each class that we taught was the complacency issue and
Mhm.
the responsibility concern, which is, hey, how many of you did a pre-trip vehicle inspection? uh, Let me see if I can find this here. Here we go. That'll show it. Yeah, how many of you did a pre-trip vehicle inspection before you drove over here to the speedway today because you just started your day? And The answer out of 140 people was what? We had
10 to 12 total, and half of them were in that last class.
Yep. Yep. And I think the only reason that half did it because it was like 1 or 2 people. We did 8 sessions, 1 or 2 people per session, and which would be 16. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's like the last half. No, we did 6 sessions. 6 sessions.
Yeah.
And the last half, I think, got the word. They're gonna ask. You better do this.
Right. Yeah, that's probably what it was.
and people would go, "Oh yeah, I'm safe. Yeah. I do everything right." How many of you did your pre-trip inspection today? And then it's like, okay, so can you see out your windshield? Do your windshield wiper blades work? Do your brakes work? Do you have all your safety equipment? Do you even know when's the last time you did one? And it's a complacency issue. You just jump in and go, and people do it every day. Usually the night before we go on our trips or have to go do training, I go down, I load the truck, I check everything, do I have fluid? Are my brakes working? My seatbelt's working? It's funny. I just got in the truck the other day. Truck's old. It's a work truck. It's old.
Right.
Got a lot of miles left to go, but it's old. And funny thing happened. I turned on the air conditioning and it was blowing out heat. And I'm like, so turn the dial, 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 turn the truck off, turn the dial, turn the dial. And then all of a sudden it started blowing cold again. And so, that sensor is that relay is a little messed up. So they have to have that replaced. Is that going to affect the truck immediately? Maybe. If it's a bit, maybe there could create an electrical fire. But these are the things. If I don't test that stuff, I don't know. So you have to do that, and you got to check your wheel chocks. It's important, very, very important. So do it. Understand like the width of the tire, where on that tire you place it, the gross vehicle weight that you're trying to stop. Is your wheel chock good for that? Do you chock just the back, just the front? I got, it's really funny here. If you look at a lot of these tips, they'll tell you on level ground, do both sides of the wheel. On an uphill grade, only do, this wheel.
Right.
Or that wheel. Downhill grade. It's like, well, that's nice. But what happens when you start only chalking one portion of the wheel and now you're on level? You forget.
Yep.
So do both sides and do both sides of the axle.
Yep.
Right. So front and rear, left and right. Our passenger and driver side. Make sure you do it. But I haven't found anything on Useful Life here quickly. So we'll let you go, but read your manufacturer's instructions, test it, double check your lockout, tag out procedures. If you don't have wheel chalking in your lockout, tag out procedures, well, you better get it in there and make sure that it is proper. All right.
And don't be complacent.
Don't be complacent.
Be responsible.
Yeah. Take our course on fault versus responsibility. Don't forget, we got courses on Udemy. We got our Dollar Training Club. Check out our blog. And also, Matt, we are doing our Mummies and Monsters Halloween party run, which is really a lot of fun. I did have it here. Let's see. Where to go? There it is. Mummies and Monsters, October 26th. We're going to be riding our motorcycles from Redondo to Cachuma, so you're more than welcome to join us. Book your campsite. We're going to try and do some fishing and eating there at the little dockside restaurant bar, and Matt's going to show us how to catch a fish.
Yeah, I'll show you the motions. We'll see if that actually happens.
All right, folks, we'll see you on the next episode of the Risk Control Show. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you get all the great news.